Think about those incredible moments in modern medicine. A blocked artery cleared, maybe a delicate brain surgery navigated with, real precision. It's easy to focus on the big, complex machines, but sometimes the real magic lies in the simpler tools guiding them, like the guide wire, for instance.
Exactly. These are incredibly thin, flexible threads, and they're just essential for so many minimally invasive procedures. They basically act as a roadmap, allowing surgeons to navigate the body's tricky pathways and deliver life-saving treatments. And today we're diving deep into the global market for these, well, crucial devices. We're looking at a recent report that paints a really fascinating picture of its current state and future trajectory.
Okay, so for anyone just picturing like a basic piece of wire, it's obviously a bit more sophisticated than that, right? It's the pathway for things like stents, catheters to get to really specific spots inside us. And this report, it suggests it's not just some small niche market, it's actually a pretty significant global industry.
Absolutely. Our goal in this deep dive is really to understand just how significant its current size, the anticipated growth over the next decade or so, the pre-trends driving that growth, and how the market spread out across the world. This report we're looking at projects the global Guidewires market will reach a pretty substantial USD 2,761.4 million in 2025.
Wow, okay. That's a serious number. And it sounds like we're not looking at a plateau anytime soon either. The report really emphasizes that ongoing innovation and the introduction of new guide wires by the major players are expected to keep this market expanding.
Precisely. We're seeing continuous advancements that leads to more specialized guide wires, tailored for specific procedures, offering better performance. So let's get into those numbers. That USD 2,761.4 million figure for 2025. That's just the starting point. The projection shows a significant rise up to USD 401.3 million by 2033.
That's quite a jump. What does that translate to in terms of like yearly growth?
We're looking at a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 6.00% from 2025 through to 2033. And just for context, these figures use 2024 as the base year, with historical data going back to 2021 and the forecast extending out to 2033.
Got it. And this report is based on pretty recent information, isn't it? I think it mentioned data updated as recently as March 2025.
Yes, that's right. So it gives us a very up-to-date snapshot of the market, which is great. Now, let's maybe break down how this global market is distributed geographically. Shall we start with North America?
Okay, North America, yeah. What's their role in the global picture? Big player, I assume.
Oh, definitely. North America currently holds the largest slice of the pie, actually, over 40% of the global revenue. Their market size is estimated at USD 121.72 million in 2025. The projected CAGR is 4.5% through 2033. And within North America, the United States is, unsurprisingly, the dominant force. Market size of USD 806.14 million in 2025 with a 4.3% CAGR.
Right. And what about Canada and Mexico? How do they factor in? Still significant.
They are. Canada is estimated at USD 122.61 million. That's with a slightly higher CAGR of 5.3%. And Mexico is at USD 92.98 million with a 5% CAGR. So quite strong across the board there. Now, shifting focus across the Atlantic, what's the situation looking like in Europe?
Europe, I imagine they're also a pretty significant player in this market.
Absolutely. Europe accounts for over 30% of the global market share. We're talking a market size of USD 800.81 million in 2025 and a KGR of 5.1%. Key countries driving this are the UK, that's USD 134.54 million, with a robust KGR of 5.9%, and Germany at USD 158.56 million, with a 5.3% CAGR.
Interesting. So North America and Europe are the current leaders. Makes sense. What about the Asia-Pacific region, then? We often hear about rapid growth there in lots of sectors.
You're right to highlight APAC. It currently holds around 23% of the global market share,
Right.
market size of USD 662.74 million in 2025. But here's where it gets really interesting. Its projected CAGR is 8.7%. That makes it the fastest growing region by, well, quite a significant margin.
Wow, 8.7%. That's considerably higher than the global average, yeah. Which countries within APAC are really driving that rapid growth?
China is a major contributor, no surprise there.
Yeah.
Market size of USD 278.35 million and an 8.2% CAGR. However, the real standout within APAC in terms of growth rate is India. Market size there is USD 66.27 million, but with a remarkable CGR of 10.6%.
10.6%.
Yeah. This reflects not just the potential size, but also the increasing investment in healthcare infrastructure and the adoption of advanced medical tech in the region.
That's really impressive growth in India. Okay, what about the other regions? South America, the Middle East, and Africa. What do their market shares look like? Are they smaller pieces of the puzzle?
They are smaller, but still growing. South America holds over 5% of the global share. That's a market size of USD 104.93 million in 2025 and a CAGR of 6.7%.
Right.
Brazil's the largest market there, USD 44.91 million with a strong 7.3% CAGR.
Okay.
Then the Middle East accounts for around 2% globally. Size is USD 110.46 million in 2025, and the CAGR is actually quite high at 7.3%.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia and the UAE are notable markets there.
Interesting. 7.3% is quite high for a smaller share.
It is. And finally, Africa holds about 1% of the global share, estimated at USD 60.75 million in 2025, with a CAGR of 6.3%. South Africa is the largest market within Africa.
Okay, so we see a clear picture. North America leading in size, but APAC, particularly India, showing the most dynamic growth. Very interesting. Now, the report must dig into the factors actually fueling this market expansion, right? What are the main drivers?
Absolutely. A primary driver, maybe the primary driver, is the increasing adoption of minimally invasive procedures. These are just becoming the preferred approach in so many medical specialties. And the reasons are pretty clear. Lower costs, shorter hospital stays, faster recovery times, and just better outcomes for patients.
Right.
So this naturally increases the demand for the tools that enable these procedures like Guidewires.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, patients want less invasive options, and healthcare systems are always looking for efficiencies. Are there other factors contributing too?
Yes, favorable medical compensation policies play a pretty crucial role. Basically, when healthcare providers get adequate reimbursement for using advanced devices like guide wires in these procedures, they're obviously more incentivized to adopt and use them. This creates a kind of positive feedback loop, encouraging both the use of current tech and the development of new stuff. The report also highlights just the growing expertise and comfort levels of surgeons worldwide with these minimally invasive techniques. They're getting better and more confident using them.
Okay, so we have some strong tailwinds pushing the market forward. Are there any headwinds, challenges that might slow this growth down a bit?
Yes, there are a couple of factors acting as restraints that the report points out. One is the significant cost associated with surgical guide wires. They aren't cheap, and this can be a barrier to adoption, especially for, say, smaller hospitals or in developing economies. It potentially limits access for patients, too. Additionally, broader trends like, healthcare expenditure reductions in some places and the potential for excise taxes on medical devices, those could also dampen market growth somewhat.
That's an important reality check. Innovation is fantastic, but accessibility is key for it to have a truly widespread impact. Now, looking ahead, what about key market trends? What does the report highlight that we should be watching?
Well, one significant trend is the emergence of new market opportunities. These are driven by the increasing prevalence of certain chronic conditions, think things like renal failure, hypertension,
Yeah.
and also the growing elderly population, particularly in regions like North Asia, so China, Korea, Japan. These demographic shifts are just leading to a greater need for a wider range of interventional procedures that rely heavily on guidewire technology.
And I think I read something about a specific type of guide wire material seeing increased demand. Was it nitinol?
Yes, exactly. There's a definite growing preference for nitinol-based guidewires. Nitinol, it's a nickel titanium alloy. It just possesses these unique properties that make it exceptionally well suited for medical applications. It exhibits shape memory, meaning it can be deformed and then pop back to its original shape, and it has remarkable elasticity or flexibility,
Right.
which allows it to navigate really tight and twisty blood vessels without kinking or breaking.
That sounds incredibly useful for getting around inside the body's complex plumbing, essentially.
It really is. And on top of that, nitinol offers excellent biocompatibility. The body tolerates it well. Plus, it provides good visibility under fluoroscopy, the X-ray imaging they use during procedures, because it's radiopaque. That helps surgeons track it precisely. The report specifically mentions nitinol's ability to undergo a phase transformation based on temperature changes and mechanical stress. Think of it like this. Maybe at room temperature, the wire is super flexible for easy insertion. But once it hits body temperature, it could become more rigid, providing better support for catheters or stents being guided over it.
Fascinating.
These superior characteristics compared to, say, traditional stainless steel are really driving its increasing use, particularly in vascular procedures.
Really interesting material science at work there. Okay, the report also segments the market in different ways, doesn't it? Let's explore that. How is the guidewire market broken down by product type?
Right. It's segmented into several product types. And in 2025, coronary guide wires are projected to hold the largest share. This is largely down to the high global rates of cardiovascular diseases and just how frequently these guide wires are used in common procedures like angioplasty and stent placement for blocked arteries.
That makes sense, yeah, given the prevalence of heart disease. What are some of the other significant product categories then? Well, neurovascular guide wires are seeing substantial growth. This is being fueled by more diagnosis and treatment of neurovascular conditions, things like aneurysms, arteriovenous malformations, and there's a growing emphasis on using minimally invasive endovascular approaches for those. The report also mentions other important types: peripheral guide wires for limbs, radiology guide wires for the urinary tract, radiology ones for imaging-guided interventions, and gastroenterology guide wires for the digestive system. So quite a range.
A very wide range indeed. And how does the market break down from an end user perspective? Where are these guide wires actually being used most?
Okay, end users. Hospitals are expected to account for the largest market share in 2025, and this is really due to the sheer volume and diversity of medical procedures performed in hospitals that need guide wires. Across cardiology, neurology, urology, and more. Plus, there's that strong trend towards minimally invasive techniques within hospitals across all these areas.
Right. Are there any other significant end user segments that are worth noting? Maybe growing fast? Yes, definitely. Ambulatory surgical centers, or ASCs. They're identified as the fastest growing end user segment. And this growth is driven by that increasing shift towards outpatient, minimally invasive procedures. These ASCs offer benefits like, potentially, a reduced risk of hospital-acquired infections and generally lower overall costs compared to traditional inpatient hospital care.
Okay.
The report also mentions clinics and diagnostic centers as other relevant end-user categories, but ASCs are the ones really taking off.
So while hospitals are the main users now, ASCs are a really significant area for future expansion. Got it. Now, no market discussion is complete without looking at the companies involved. What does the competitive landscape look like for global guide wires? Is it crowded?
Actually, the report indicates the market is relatively consolidated. That means a smaller number of major companies hold a significant chunk of the market share. It suggests these key players have pretty well-established distribution networks, strong tech expertise, and, good brand recognition.
Okay, can you name some of these leading companies?
Certainly. The report identifies several prominent players. Let's see. Boston Scientific Corporation, Medtronic, Cook, D. Braun, Terumo Medical Corporation, Abbott, Stryker, Teleflex Incorporated, and BD. It's worth mentioning the report doesn't give a specific ranking, just lists these key players.
Understood. And what are these major players focusing on? What's their main strategy in this market?
A key focus for pretty much all these leading companies is continuous innovation, launching new advanced guidewire technologies. That's how they drive market growth and, frankly, maintain their competitive edge. The report actually gives a few specific examples of recent product launches that illustrate this point. Yeah, for instance, Medtronic launched their Steerant aortic guide wire back in June 2024. That's designed for evertivar procedures, so endovascular repair of aortic issues. Boston Scientific introduced their Kinetics guide wire in April 2021 for PCI, percutaneous coronary interventions. And Teleflex enhanced their ErgoPack system in January 2021, which helps improve vascular access procedures. So these examples just highlight that ongoing effort to develop more precise, safer, and more effective guide wires all the time.
That gives us a good sense of the key players and their drive for innovation. Okay, so to kind of bring it all together now, what are the main takeaways from our deep dive into this report on the global guide wires market?
Right. To summarize, the global guide wires market is, substantial, and it's definitely on a strong growth trajectory, projected to hit over $4.4 billion by 2033. This growth is primarily fueled by, one, the increasing adoption of minimally invasive procedures, and two, continuous advancements in the guidewire tech itself, especially materials like that nitinol we discussed. Regionally, Asia-Pacific is where we expect to see the most rapid expansion. And while coronary guide wires in hospitals currently hold the largest market shares by product and end user, keep an eye on neurovascular guide wires and ambulatory surgical centers. They're showing really significant growth potential.
So a really dynamic market, clearly driven by both medical necessity and technological progress. It really underscores how even these seemingly simple tools are right at the heart of incredibly complex, life-saving medical interventions. Here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener. Considering this rapid pace of innovation, particularly in material science, and that continuing shift towards outpatient care in ASCs, How might the applications and even the designs of Guidewires evolve even further in the coming years? Could there be unexpected new uses for this seemingly humble yet absolutely vital medical device? It's certainly something to think about the next time you hear about a groundbreaking, minimally invasive procedure. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.